Did my clickbait get you into the video? Yeah, anyway, into the one-off.
Hopping on the Bandwagon by Jonathan Howe. Read to you by Jonathan Howe. Mia played the flute, spirits flittering through the grass around her. They swayed with the wind as well as her music. They were the wind. She smiled as she watched them move. The beings took the song and translated it into a physical demonstration in the same way humans danced. Distracted by her thoughts, Mia missed a note. The spirits rippled with the interruption. Shaking her head slightly, Mia closed her eyes and focused. She played the song written by her grandmother. It was designed to give a person quickened movements, but Mia preferred watching the spirits dance to it. "You're quite the musician," a voice called out from behind her. Mia spun, her song ending abruptly. Behind her stood a young woman with tan skin and short dark hair. "Is that Evelyn's evasiveness?" Mia nodded, cautious. The woman, who acted like she hadn't snuck up on Mia at all, unslung a lute from her back. She began quickly plucking at the strings, making sure they were in tune. After a brief moment to center herself, the woman began to play. To Mia's surprise, it was her grandmother's song. Mia didn't know she'd taught other people, but this woman was playing it well. All around, the spirits began to dance in the wind. They circled Mia, helping her feel light on her feet. That's how the woman snuck up on me, she realized. Mia stepped from side to side, expending the little amounts of energy the song gave her. "Well," the woman said, "aren't you going to join in?" Mia's eyes went wide. She opened her mouth dumbly for a moment, but slowly began to raise her flute anyway. "You take the melody, starting at the chorus," the woman instructed. Mia did as asked. When she started playing again, the mysterious woman changed her playing to accent Mia's. The spirits seemed to shiver before picking up the energy level. Their pace and tempo still matched the song, but their movements were far more complex and exciting. Mia couldn't hide a smile. They played the entirety of the song until finally the mysterious woman took over with a solo lute portion. Mia stood back and watched her. The woman's fingers, aided by the spirits, danced across the fingerboard. When the final note rang out, the woman held her pose for a few seconds, letting the lute die out on its own. "After hearing you play," Mia responded, "I don't know if I am." The woman smiled and blushed a little. "I was just showing off. That song is kind of my specialty," she said. Mia furrowed her brow, but didn't bring up her point of confusion. "Anyway, my name's Susanna. Sorry for sneaking up on you." "It's fine. I wasn't expecting anyone to be out here. Travelers don't often hear me from the road," Mia explained. "Travelers don't know to look for the unusual movement of spirits, like, say, a flock of wind spirits heading in the same direction," Susanna said. "So then, do you live nearby?" Mia narrowed her eyes. While her grandmother hadn't been overly cautious in raising Mia, she did teach her not to divulge personal information so willingly. "I'm sorry, but I really don't want to say," Mia said, taking a step back. Susanna owed, raising her hands apologetically. "I'm sorry again. Just because you know my name doesn't mean you know me." Mia nodded with a slight tilt of her head. "What if I go back to my wagon and we set up a more normal place to meet? Is there a town up ahead?" "Eufeld is not far, about half a mile," Mia told her. "And does it have any sort of defining landmark? The big sign out front of the general store?" "Good," Susanna said. "I'd love to talk more. If you want to, meet me under the sign in about an hour." Without another word, she turned and left. Mia watched her go, uncertain what she was supposed to think. And why is grandmother's song her specialty? An hour later, after swinging by her house, Mia walked down the main street of Eufeld. It was not a particularly large town, which is why she noticed Susanna immediately. Sitting in the middle of the street was a large, colorful wagon. It was pulled by two massive horses which stood calmly in the midst of a small crowd. Most of the people of Eufeld had come over to see what was going on. Susanna stood in the back of the wagon, playing a song for the crowd. Mia joined in the back of the group watching until Susanna finished. The woman looked up, spotting Mia and waving excitingly. People in the crowd turned to see who was being waved at. Upon seeing her, most nodded and looked back up to the wagon. Susanna hopped down and made her way to Mia, the small crowd parting around her. I'm glad you could make it, she said, taking Mia's hand. I want to introduce you to everyone else. Without warning, Susanna pulled Mia towards the wagon. Sitting at its base was a large group of people Mia had never seen before. They were young adults of various backgrounds, leaning against the wagon or nearby walls. They turned and cheered as Mia was pulled up. Guys, this is Mia, the one I told you about, Susanna said. She turned to Mia, gesturing at the group. Mia, this is the Bandwagon. We're a traveling mercenary band. Mercenary isn't the proper word, a young man with light skin and light hair called out. Susanna scowled. No one cares, Nedden. The man, Nedden, rolled his eyes. He's right, though, another woman said. She had striking blue eyes and shoulder-length white hair. Sorry, Mia said, but is that normal? The woman smiled. No, but neither is my story. I'm Raina, she said, and held out a hand, which Mia shook. As for my hair, it was blonde until the spirits stole color from it. I still don't know how I did that, but something in the way I played convinced them to do it. Oh, my grandmother's mentioned instances like that, Mia said, though she'd agree it is quite rare. Please don't feed her ego, Nedden said with a groan. Hey, I agreed with you, Raina said, swatting him playfully on the arm. Anyways, Susanna said, bringing attention back to herself, that's Nedden and Raina. The tall guy is Ulf, next to him is Poppy, and the twins are Meryl and Beryl. Meryl and Beryl, Mia said, holding back a laugh. The entire group chuckled. When we were born, Meryl explained, our mom was only expecting me. When I came out, Beryl jumped in, she didn't have a name ready to go. Everyone, including the crowd around the wagon, laughed. And that's our group, Susanna said. We go from town to town, taking jobs and playing songs to help where we can. You can all play instruments? Mia asked. Her talent was a rare commodity in Ufeld. Well, I don't know if I would call the noise Meryl makes playing, Ulf joked. The group laughed again. Oh yeah? Well, that's not what your mom said last time we were in town, Meryl snapped back. She thought my playing was lovely. My mom's deaf, Ulf countered. The group burst out into raucous laughter. So, what are you guys doing in Ufeld? Mia asked. We're passing through mostly, Nedden explained. He seemed to be the leader of the group. We did hear that your grandmother lives somewhere nearby. Is there a chance we could visit? Mia raised an eyebrow. She looked back to the villagers around her. None of them seemed perturbed, which confused Mia even more. They live just down the way, one of the villagers said, pointing in the direction of Mia's house. Mia's eyes went wide. Thank you, Nedden called out. Mia turned back to face him. Mia, could we go visit your home? I seriously need to speak with Grandma, Mia thought as she stepped up to the front door. Wait here, she told the bandwagon before heading inside. Mia found her grandmother in the kitchen preparing a quick midday meal. You're back again? Her grandmother said. Did the meeting go well? Mia had, of course, mentioned her destination before leaving. I guess, Mia said. Now I have a small troupe of musicians who want to see you. Evelyn smiled. Of course they do, she said calmly. Bring them into the dining area. That doesn't surprise you? Mia asked. Why do they want to see you? It's probably on account of my being a famous musician before I settled down. Mia's jaw went slack. She closed her mouth and pushed her eyebrows together in suspicion. While her grandmother wasn't the type to lie, Evelyn hadn't ever mentioned anything about being famous before. Go, Evelyn said. I'll explain everything after I've met these friends you've made. Mia went to the front door and opened it. All the members of the bandwagon were readying instruments. They looked up expectantly. She says to come in, Mia said, stepping to the side invitingly. The group bustled in excited, and Mia closed the door behind them. With all 8 of them in the same room, it was quite crowded. The twins, Poppy, and Ulf all immediately took seats at the table. Nedden stood off in a corner politely, and Raina seemed to shadow him, sticking by his side. Susanna stood with Mia by the door. So, Mia, Beryl asked, what's it like being the granddaughter of the most famous musician of our time? Mia started, trying to process his statement. She wouldn't know that, her grandmother said, coming in from the kitchen. Everyone went quiet. Up until today, she only knew me as her grandmother. Do you seriously not know about her? Susanna leaned in and whispered. No, I have no clue, Mia said, not whispering. Her grandmother smiled. I intended that. I chose a small village and asked everyone to keep it a secret so that you could live a relatively calm life. When Mia didn't respond, Evelyn began telling her story to the room. As a young woman, Evelyn had been part of a village that was attacked by invaders. While most of the people fled, she picked up her flute and played. The spirits of Malara heard her song and used the music to bolster what little defenses the village had. A traveling mercenary group happened to be in town, she explained. My song allowed them to drive off the invaders. Afterwards, they asked me to join them on their travels. She told them about traveling the continent, playing for the group, and writing songs that she spread as they went. Eventually, towns and cities looked forward to her arrival because the music she brought was guaranteed to make their lives safer and easier. It was a wonderful decade. But by the end, though, I grew tired of the road and wanted to settle down. I picked a large town in the north, where your grandfather and I had lived and had your mother. She looked at Mia with sorrow in her eyes. And then the bandits, Mia said softly. For the second time in my life, Evelyn said, I found myself in a village on the brink of destruction. You were only a month old. Your mother and grandfather went out to try helping the village defense. I stayed with you, playing a song of concealment. Evelyn stopped, a tear falling down her cheek. Mia hung her head. When I escaped, I found a village far out of the way and asked people to say nothing about my identity. Your life has been hard enough without a mother. It didn't need to be made more complicated by my past. But why didn't you go out and play for the defense again? Merle asked. Simple answer, because I was old. That and Mia's mother was just as good as I was. Then how did they lose? Poppy asked. It was the first time Mia had heard the woman speak. Her voice was soft and higher pitched than Mia had imagined. Well, Evelyn started, as I'm sure you're all aware, in battles of music, spirits choose which side they want to go to. I wasn't outside, but I've heard the group who attacked had the spirits on their team through superior music. We're sorry, Nedden said. That must have been hard. It was, Evelyn said. But it's not the first hard thing in my life, and it won't be the last. No one said anything for a minute. Done with her story, Evelyn went back into the kitchen. She came out with a platter of food for the group. As they ate, Mia sat in deep thought. The group talked with her grandmother, asking questions about her music and songs. Mia wrestled with the implications of the revelation. Would you be willing to play with us at least once? Nedden asked finally. Maybe even join us for a small leg of our journey? The whole group looked expectantly to Evelyn. She shook her head. I am far too out of practice, she said. Raina wanted to object, but Evelyn raised a finger. Besides, you should take Mia with you instead. She's far better than I ever was when it comes to playing. All eyes turned to Mia. She blushed and tried to shrink down into her chair. She wanted to argue, but it was true. About when she turned 16, Evelyn had started telling Mia that she'd surpassed her. By this point, years later, it wasn't something she could try arguing against. Well then, Ulf said, let's hear you play. Mia started to shake her head, but met her grandmother's gaze. The eyes encouraged Mia to do it. She pulled her flute from its case at her side and put it to her lips. She thought about her mother and all the loss in her past, allowing it to channel into the music. The song she played was her grandmother's, called A Song for Those Gone. When she finished, Mia met her grandmother's eyes again. Another tear rolled down Evelyn's cheek. Mia had a matching tear rolling down her own. Mia, Nedden said, that was incredible. Mia wanted to shake her head again to deny it, but it was impossible. Even for her high standards, that was one of her best performances literally ever. Thank you, she said quietly. You should come with us, Susanna said. Mia shook her head. You should go. Her grandmother cut her off. Everyone looked back to Evelyn. It's what I did at your age. I think you'd enjoy it. She smiled a warm, comforting smile. All eyes turned back to Mia. She stammered nervously. I don't know. Evelyn crossed the room, wrapping Mia in a hug. Mia held on for dear life. Mia, this world is far too big to stay in one town your whole life. Take a day to think about it, but I want you to go explore. She pulled away, leaving her hands on Mia's shoulders. You should take a walk. I'll talk to your new friends while you're gone. When Mia got back, the members of the bandwagon had left town. If you want to join them, they're going to wait for you at the same spot as today, her grandmother explained. Mia nodded. While out, she'd made up her mind. The next morning, Evelyn walked Mia to the front of the general store, travel bag in hand. They hugged goodbye before Mia hopped onto the bandwagon to go travel the world like her grandmother before her.
We're back. Yeah. No, I don't need to quit YouTube. I do this like once a week, guys. I'm fine. I just thought it would be really, really funny to see if I can clickbait the algorithm. So let's see if it works. If you're here because you thought some random small channel was gonna talk about Matt, Pat, and all the other people quitting and how it was affecting them, no, I could talk about that, but it's not affecting me, and everything I could say has basically been said by other people who it matters to hear it from, like Matt Pat himself. So needless to say, that's fine. Anyway, we're back to Melara, baby. Yeah, I just thought it'd be really funny to do I'm hopping on the bandwagon. And then what better planet to have like a hopping on the bandwagon story than Melara? So let's freaking go. My cat. Look at her. Look at this cat. She's just really, really horny right now. And by that I mean she's in heat. It's fine. So that means she really wants attention. But yeah, so I just think it's so funny. Like if I ever become a published author, for those of you who are my solid dedicated fans, if I become a published author, I hate to break it to you, but Melara is not going to be a book I write until it's like number 7 down the line. I have plans, and the Melara book is a decent ways down. But like when that day comes, I'm gonna be like on the internet, like, you know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone's gonna be like, wow, wow, and all the people who don't watch this channel are gonna be like, I don't understand what's happening, and then the fans who know, they're like, it's Melara time, it's Melara time, because I just keep coming back to this planet, and it just keeps getting better every time. I love it. That being said, this one's not as exciting necessarily. It's just, again, it's more based off the hopping on the bandwagon, but like, it's now open-ended that I can do another story about Mia and the bandwagon, and it's not like I'm gonna hop on this week. Another thing you might have noticed is that the end of this started getting maybe a little rushed pacing-wise. I think I did fine, but I could have done more. That's the problem. I was writing at like midnight, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is 2,600 words, and I want to write more, but I don't have time or energy. So there she goes again. Yeah, I really did enjoy it. If you did as well, hit that like button and share it with your friends. And then I will see you guys next week. Neat. Okay, bye.